Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It's July 12th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and it was really uphill all day. We had a little correction here. It couldn't be 100% positive at this point until it bounced right here that maybe it wasn't going to be a range day. But you can see this line here. You can actually get a couple of different lines here, but if you use just off those first couple of closes there. But you couldn't really confirm that this one was correct until it bounced here. And then you can see it bounce there a couple more times. So even though you could find this line up here and drag it down, so you could have been anticipating it here. Um, just notice how that line looks exactly like that. So when you draw that off those closes and you bring it down. So you can be anticipating that bounce, but until it does bounce there, it's really hard to know for sure if this larger two-tiered channel is in play or not. However, short term, you got all you need. You got two-tiered working up, a break, a couple of legs up to a new high, then you got one working down. You get a little close outside, new low, and then when it bounces here, you figure, hey, there's a good chance there's a two-tiered larger channel. Then you got this trend working up. You get a close here. It tries to make a new high. It can't get one. And we just kind of go sideways, and it finally gets a new high right here, and then it sells off. And so everything really worked out. It was a little slow early on. You had to just be patient, really, until 9 o'clock. There were only about 3 really decent trades that I liked. Um, you might have considered entering in here. When it keeps doing like this, it's generally a sign of a strong trend, but next thing you know, you enter right here and you get stopped out, and so it's just not worth it. Uh, Even this one, I made it green. So just simply because you're going long into the high of the day with only about 2 or 3 ticks there before you get there. So it's a little bit risky doing that. But anyway, let's talk about the trades. When I came in, we had this two-tier channel working up. Very obvious that but we've been working sideways for a while. You can see the obvious highs and lows here. And we're just bouncing off the lows again, but that's the first break of this trend channel line. So you figure we're going to make a push to this high and probably to make a new high. And you get a little small bar. Your stop has to go below this bar, but you get a chance to enter off the lows with enough room to get out. So that's why I like that one. It's first trade just a little after 7 o'clock, and then it's just kind of bouncing around. And this is a double bottom, so you get a first entry short and a second entry short, but also you get this is kind of a breakout. Well, it's not kind of, it is a breakout pullback long. It's the first break of the little tight channel on the retest. It's a bounce right off the EMA. It's a failed second entry short. It's a nice, very bullish bar. There's a lot of reasons to like that trade. The only problem I see with it is it's so close to that high that it's risky. So it's green, but the only reason it wasn't blue is because we didn't have a little more room in there. And then it pulls back. We got a break now of even the retest channel, and you've already got a new high in place. Sometimes you get 2 legs, sometimes you don't. In this case, you get another push up. And but I don't think it's worth risking there, trying to trying to enter right there. You almost got enough room to get out on this one, but that's the first entry. Your second entry comes here, and you're right back into a double top. You really could treat that like a failed second entry short, but it would have failed. And so it's just not worth entering up there, especially if you should have had this line drawn across here, across these first couple of swings highs here, and then you would have seen that touching up there, and that would have given you a clue that, hey, I better not enter this close to that high. And what normally happens after you come off here, especially a break, the break of the two-tiered channel, the break of this channel, a couple legs up to a new high, odds are we're probably going to the other side. If this is a two-tiered channel, and if it's a trading range, we're probably going to at least come test this strong support, and we may go lower. We may come test the lows of the day. So you probably want to start looking for some shorts in here. And you get a double top here. Everything's in play. you get a nice little fairly bearish bar there. It's real small. Your stop again has to go over the high, so it really needs to go above one of these two, which is the same place. But it's a second entry short too. Notice the new low, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. So it's a second entry short. I like that one. And if you catch this one, you catch a runner, and you can ride this all the way down. And I would exit when it bounced off that line, looking for it down here. I would have exited. But it moves down. This is a double top, so this is like a new high. Get a first entry long, pull back second entry long, and it fails. Go short right there, and it just keeps going. You don't get a runner out of this one. Then it pulls back. This is the first close outside of this trend line, but it breaks higher and turns and goes right out the other side. I like that one, even though that's not really much of a trend. You're just kind of going sideways, and there's not much of a trend line there to even get anything off of. And as bearish as that is, you even could have waited on this and let it break low and put your stop back here where it was, and it would have come back and filled you and then dropped on down. The main key here is we're looking for prices to come down and test this level right here, based off of this trend line here. You're dragging it down, and then if you find the midline, you can kind of see it fits through there, and we bounced around, it broke through, pulled back and tested, and that's what you expect to happen on a midline. So, and then of course we bounce off this. It's tempting to go long right there. You could also treat that like a failed break lower, but it's not a very good signal bar. You could have waited on this one, let it break above, and then dropped your limit order back in there. So technically it could be green, but I think you're better off to wait and see if you get something else. But look how it pushes right through the EMA, pulls back, turns right back up with a nice bullish reversal type bar. It goes out the bottom and right out the top. I'd have my stop waiting right there, and I'd be looking for at least a measured leg like this one right here. But if this is actually in, you see we got a perfect measured move before it got a little two-legged correction there, and really you're going sideways here. You can see that support area. Notice how it gapped over it right there. There's no overlap. You see that often. And but notice that, and you get the double test rule. New high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. It's not a great signal bar, but it's the double test rule. It's a second entry long. If you waited on it to break above this one, it wouldn't have come back and got you. So you probably wouldn't have got filled. But it's right off that trend line as well. And this is just like a little repeat pattern of this right here. You get a little failed break lower, and you figure we're probably going, you're hoping that this two-tier channel is correct, so we're hoping that we go to at least here. At first your target would be here, and then the next one would be somewhere on this midline, and the next one would be all the way up. And notice you do get some resistance right across here. But it just traps people and goes higher. And then you get this little repeat pattern again. Prices are working across. You get a little failed break lower. You got a new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, right off the trend line. So another key entry point. And you're hoping now that prices are headed up here. This one, again, it's right into a double top, and you don't have any room to scalp out, so it's kind of risky. It's relatively risky, so it's going to be green. But on a strong trend like that, with relatively few pullbacks, you got to take what you can get sometimes. But you can see it didn't go much further, and then it corrects. So it's always risky on those, and that's the reason we mark them in green. And the key is make sure on these entries that you got room to scalp out before you get to a major high. A double top is a major high. This one's a little bit different because it's a trend channel working up and we're bouncing off the key entry point. Plus that's key support. Look how many times we tested it and couldn't even close below it. So that's telling you there's a little more buying strength in there. and then finally you get a break, and notice how it pushes through the EMA. That's somewhat of a reversal pattern, but it pushes right back through. You get a first entry short, a second entry short, it fails, go along there. You're still looking for a retest of this high on this shorter term channel, and you're really going sideways, so you don't want to go short right into all that support, especially when you're looking for a retest. So that's the reason there's no short there, but definitely a long, and your hope is that you're going to go up and make a new high, and it might just continue going because on the bigger picture it's a two-tiered channel working higher. And then of course you make a double top there, then it tries to go higher again and gives you the double test rule and another little smaller double top and a failed break higher, and that's a trap. And just, it's good for a short. I wouldn't be trying to hang on to this unless it just keeps going. I probably would have exited right down here when it got back to the trend line, maybe even thought about exiting here. But it's a pretty good move down. And then we bounce. Where do we bounce? Right off the key entry point again. And notice you got your break on the way down, two legs up, and a move to a new low. You got your, again, this is one that's similar to one back here. It's not much of a trend here. It's more sideways, so it's also a little failed break higher. We just, what happened was we really went into a trading range here. This is a failed break lower, bounces right off the trend line. Notice all that support across there, and you get that little failed break lower. I like that one just to snap back into, probably go back to here. It does pull back and give you another chance here, but it can't get through that EMA yet, and so this could be setting up to get your break of the larger two-tiered channel, so you got to be real careful. It's not a very good setup. It would have worked, but I'm going to mark it green because it's a little aggressive. But notice you're working up, then you get a close outside, a second entry long here. Notice that new high. We're not quite back to these highs. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and you're probably going to try a retest here for a new high. And we still don't have a new high in place for this one. And so that may be what they're working on. And notice what happens. It finally gets that new high, turns down, and it trends down the rest of the day. So again, this is a second entry long. It's a higher low back inside the range. We haven't got to the high yet, so that's probably where we're headed. And we don't have a new high on this. This was a fairly strong move, so it was really surprising we didn't get a new high here. That just means there's really strong resistance, and they had to end up trapping some shorts to push it on up there. It gets the new high, and then everybody's happy, and off it goes. So not a lot of trades today. It's all uphill for the most part. There's a couple of shorts in here, but you're mostly better off hanging with the, sticking with the longs today. And there weren't a lot of them. So just it's not really even a slow day. There's pretty good volume there. It's just not a lot of, notice how it's just kind of choppy and moving whichever way it's going. Even though that doesn't look strong, when you see all those little bars, that's generally a strong trend. And so your bias was definitely to the upside, although there were a few shorts in there that met the rules. So, but yeah, not much else I can say about today. Just kind of a little quiet and slow day. And these are the kind of days that people will get confused sometimes because they don't see the big picture. But that's the key. You got to find the big picture and understand where prices are doing and where they're headed, or what prices are doing and where they're headed is what I meant to say. So I'm going to wrap it up for the day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. But this is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.